You've been lied to. They told you it's all about what you do in bed. That if you last longer, touch harder, move faster, she'll fall in love. But here's the truth most men will never hear. It's not your body that makes her crave you. It's your mind. Today, we're diving into 3 forbidden techniques: psychologically dangerous, emotionally addictive, and completely misunderstood. They don't involve tricks, toys, or cheap lines. They involve rewiring how she feels about you. Deep in her brain, most men never learn these. You're about to. Physical foreplay touches her skin. Psychological foreplay touches her soul. And it begins long before the bedroom. Most men jump straight to stimulation, chasing a reaction, but the smartest lovers trigger a response. They create emotional arousal before physical arousal. Scientifically, a woman's sexual desire is more responsive than spontaneous. That means her mind needs to feel before her body reacts. Researchers from the Kinsey Institute and McGill University have proven that for most women, context, connection, and anticipation activate arousal more than touch alone. So what does that mean for you? It means you don't rush in. You set the stage. You build an emotional environment where she feels safe, seen, and desired. And then you take it one step deeper. You let her imagination do the work. Drop subtle comments during the day. Strategic compliments, mysterious glances, open-ended questions that leave her thinking. Tease with your words, not your hands. Hold eye contact 2 seconds longer than normal. Praise her mind, not just her body. The moment she feels mentally pursued, not pressured, her nervous system begins associating you with pleasure. Dopamine spikes, cortisol lowers. You become a reward. Most men touch her body and miss her brain. But if you learn to touch her thoughts first, you'll own a part of her that no one else ever could. That's not game. That's science-backed intimacy. And it's how craving begins, not with contact, but with curiosity. Most people think attraction is about showing off who you are, but deep, obsessive desire is triggered when someone feels seen. Like you've touched a hidden part of them they didn't even know was exposed. That's where mirroring comes in. Psychologically, mirroring builds subconscious trust. It's a technique therapists use, negotiators master, and lovers ignore. Yet it's one of the most powerful tools in seduction. When you subtly reflect her tone, energy, and language patterns, she starts to feel that you just get her. But here's where it gets powerful. Once you've mirrored her inner world, you flip it. You guide her to something just outside her comfort zone, something she's never asked for but secretly wanted. That's when desire becomes obsession. The brain is wired to crave contrast, comfort mixed with risk, safety fused with danger. This is what activates the brain's reward circuitry. Neuroscience calls it the novelty-uncertainty paradox. She's drawn in by the familiarity you mirrored, but hooked by the surprise you introduce. That might mean you echo her flirtation style, then pause just when she expects more. Or you match her emotional energy, then challenge it with unexpected depth. You might mirror her sensual language, then twist it with subtle dominance. Whatever it is, the flip must be unpredictable, but rooted in something real. Because the minute she thinks she's figured you out, the tension dies. This technique works because it plays directly on the brain's addiction to prediction errors, moments when something both surprises and delights us. These errors spike dopamine, the same chemical released in gambling, music, and yes, sex. So while others try to impress her with money, muscles, or status, you impress her nervous system. And once her brain links you with unexpected pleasure, it starts seeking you, without her even realizing why. Remember, you're not manipulating her. You're speaking to the deeper parts of her, the emotional layers that crave stimulation beyond touch. Mirroring her desires shows understanding. Flipping them shows leadership. And in the space between those two things, that's where unforgettable chemistry is born. Silence is one of the most seductive tools you can wield, but most people are terrified of it. They rush to fill it with words, sounds, explanations, and compliments. But here's the truth. Silence, when used with confidence, creates psychological gravity. It forces the other person to lean in. Especially in romantic or sexual tension, silence can feel louder than any line you could say. This isn't about being cold or distant, it's about mastering timing. In the early stages of attraction, silence signals mystery. In the heat of the moment, it builds anticipation. And after intimacy, it can create space for deeper emotional connection. Because not everything powerful needs to be spoken. From a psychological standpoint, silence amplifies meaning. The human brain is wired to interpret pauses. It asks, "What does that mean?" and starts searching for answers. When used deliberately, that pause creates intensity. The mind becomes flooded with uncertainty, which raises dopamine levels, the same neurochemical responsible for pleasure and addiction. That's why even a well-timed pause during a flirtatious conversation or after a suggestive statement can be more arousing than the words themselves. Silence also breaks patterns. If someone is used to being constantly complimented or pursued, your pause interrupts their expectations. That interruption causes a spike in emotional focus. Suddenly, you have their full attention. You're unpredictable. That's magnetic. In dating and sex, this unpredictability fuels craving. But silence is only powerful when paired with presence. If you go quiet and look insecure, it backfires. But if you hold eye contact, breathe slowly, and seem fully relaxed in that quiet moment, you take control of the energy. And then you follow up with a question. If you start to feel fake, this gives a way to power. It backfires. But if you go quiet and look insecure, it backfires. You go quiet. You become the one who decides the rhythm of the interaction. That's dominance without words. That's seduction without touch. Most people underestimate how loud silence can be, but in the right moment, a single pause can say, "I don't need to impress you. I see you. I'm confident in what's unspoken." And that energy, it creates the kind of intimacy that lingers. Use silence wisely, and she won't just hear you, she'll feel you long after you've stopped speaking. The most intoxicating part of any romantic experience isn't the climax. It's the tension that leads up to it. It's the unanswered question, the almost, the will we or won't we. That unresolved tension is what makes a woman replay your words in her head, relive moments in her mind, and crave more without knowing why. Most men rush to resolve tension too quickly through physical touch, through words, through clarity. But unresolved tension is where mystery lives, and mystery is the birthplace of obsession. From a neurological perspective, the brain loves open loops. When a story doesn't have an ending or a situation doesn't have closure, the brain keeps spinning. This is called the Zeigarnik effect, our psychological tendency to remember incomplete experiences more intensely than completed ones. That's why a first kiss that almost happened lingers longer than one that did. Or a touch that stopped midway leaves more craving than one that followed through. Move closer, but stop just before touching. These micro moments of pullback train her mind to chase what it can't fully grasp. Not out of manipulation, but out of deep emotional chemistry. The key here is not to play games, but to play with the tension. Tension isn't cruel when it's respectful. It's powerful. It says, "I know what you want, but I'm not in a rush to give it. I want you to feel the desire building just like I do." That's a form of emotional foreplay most people never master. If you constantly resolve everything, explain everything, give everything too fast, you rob her of the experience of yearning. And yearning, when done right, is the most unforgettable part of connection. Unresolved tension leaves room for imagination. And imagination, when combined with attraction, creates longing. If you become the source of that tension, she won't just want you, she'll feel haunted by the thought of you. Attraction gets her attention. Anticipation owns her imagination. While attraction says, I like you, anticipation says, I can't stop thinking about what's coming next. This is where most men get it wrong. They focus only on looking good, saying the right things, or creating physical chemistry. But the deepest craving is built not in the moment. It's built in the wait, in the space between contact and connection, between desire and satisfaction. That space, that's where obsession grows. Science backs this up. In studies on romantic excitement, researchers found that dopamine spikes not when people receive pleasure, but when they expect it. That means the waiting, the teasing, the build-up. That's where the real high happens. It's why anticipation is the secret weapon of long-lasting desire. So how do you build it? You stretch the moment. You don't rush intimacy. You drop hints days before a date. You plant thoughts in her mind and let them grow. You suggest without delivering, tease without rushing, provoke without pushing. When she texts you something playful, you wait before replying, not to play games, but to create response gaps that her brain fills with desire. When you speak, your tone slows down. Your pauses feel intentional. Your words hint at what's coming without giving it away. Anticipation also makes her feel chosen, because when you take your time, you're saying, this experience with you is something I want to savor. That creates emotional weight. You're not chasing a body, you're crafting an experience. And that experience is what sets you apart from every other man she's met. Don't rush to satisfy the moment, stretch it. Because the longer you can sustain desire without resolving it, the deeper her emotional imprint becomes. You're not just becoming someone she wants, you're becoming someone she remembers. Attraction fades, but anticipation, that stays in the bloodstream. Be the man who doesn't just turn her on. Be the man she waits for, dreams about, and can't stop thinking about, long after the night is over.